Hello, and welcome to this session of live online demonstration brought to you by SoftExpert. My name is George, and today's session is going to cover Enterprise Quality Management, EQM. This session is being recorded, and you'll be able to watch it again at the link that was sent in the invitation. So if you want to come back and see again anything that is presented today, feel free. The total running time for our presentation should be around 40 or 45 minutes. I tend to get a little excited when I talk about quality, so we may go over a little bit, but you can plan that the total running time will be around 40 or 45 minutes. So the plan here is to say a few brief words about our company and about the suite of solutions that we offer. Then we'll get into some details about our EQM solution. And then finally, we'll log on to the system and take a look at some of the features that we have in our EQM solution. So let's start here and talk about our company. So SoftExpert is a market leader in software and services for enterprise-wide business process improvement and compliance management. We've had a steady growth in terms of the number of customers that we serve over the years. We were founded in 1995, so we've had over 20 years of presence in this market, and you can see that we now have over 2,000 customers currently. In terms of our workforce, we also have a steady history of growth, and we presently have over 400 employees working at the company. SoftExpert has a global presence, so wherever you are in the world, whether it be in the Americas or in Europe, Asia, Africa, or Australia, we have a partner network that will be able to provide knowledgeable folks who will be able to assist you with implementation services and with customer support and be able to answer your questions and be able to be your first point of contact for any additional issues or questions that you have. So you can be assured that you will have someone to rely on who's close to you geographically, wherever you are in the world. Which industries do we serve? Well, there are a lot. In fact, there's not many industries that we don't serve. Our solutions are very generalized so that we can meet the needs of a number of different types of customers, but we also have very specific solutions. For example, related to automotive, we have a number of solutions which are geared toward the automotive sector, but we also have the ability to serve pharmaceutical and biotechnology industry, the oil and gas industry. When we talk about quality, oftentimes we think of manufacturing, but quality can also be found in almost any vertical market. So whether you're in high tech or in healthcare, food and beverage, these are all markets where it is imperative that you have the ability to manage quality, identify defects in your products, and be able to react whenever you have situations that could put your quality in jeopardy. So this is just these are some examples of the industries that SoftExpert solutions are used in. Whenever we think of quality, usually the regulation that comes to mind, or the standard that comes to mind, is ISO 9000. And for quality management systems, this is the de facto standard for almost everybody. But the number of regulations and standards that SoftExpert solutions will help you meet is not limited to that single standard. We can help you do your ISO TS 16949 standards. We can help you create balanced scorecards. We can help you with your environmental management system with ISO 14001. We have a number of standards that that SoftExpert Solutions will help you to meet. I'd like to skip ahead now and talk directly to our suite of products. So SoftExpert Excellence Suite is made up of a number of modules, and these modules can be joined together in order to form solutions that can help you meet a particular business need. Now, our focus today will be on this one down here, which is EQM, but we have a number of other solutions that can be provided within the context of the Excellence Suite. So just to highlight a few of these, we have an enterprise content management solution that includes our document module that would allow you to manage the revisions and set security and accessibility for the documents in your within your organization. It also includes a capture module that would allow you to capture content from printed documents, and it also includes an archive module that would allow you to manage the storage and the different ways that you're storing your archived physical documents. So if you have those in a warehouse, or you have a number of rooms that you have to store all of your enterprise content, our ECM management, our enterprise content management solution will help you manage your document lifecycle from start to finish. We also have a BPM, business process management solution, that will allow you to model your business processes and also automate those business processes to make them real live tasks that your users can execute within our system. And so whether you are somebody who simply needs a modeling tool to model your business processes, or if you're trying to automate your HR processes, your marketing processes, even your production processes, those are processes that can be automated within BPM. And in fact, our process module is part of our EQM solution. So we will be looking at an example of a modeled process in our system later on in the demonstration today. So that's something that we'll be able to see in action once we log on to the system. We also have a GRC solution, so governance, risk, and compliance. This includes an audit module that would allow you to plan and execute any audits that you are doing within your organization. It also allows you to create risk plans for the risks that you want to identify in your organization and apply controls to mitigate those risks. And this GRC solution would also include the document module to allow you to manage and maintain the revision history, execute revisions on all of the documents that you have related to your governance within your organization. Those are just a few examples of the solutions that you can have within the Excellence Suite. You can also have the entire suite if you would want to have all of the modules that are available within the system, including all of the ones that I mentioned, in addition to modules like Asset and APQP for automotive, FMEA for automotive. We have Competence module and Training module for human resources professionals. We also have a survey and a test module that can also be used within the context of human development. And we have a number of other modules. So if you're looking for an enterprise-wide solution to your business needs, you may be interested in having all of these solutions working together. But our topic today will be EQM. So let's take a deeper look here at what is available in terms of our EQM solution. So our EQM solution provides the means to implement and simplify closed-loop quality and compliance programs by joining together all key quality elements. This would include processes, which I've already mentioned, documents, key performance indicators, non-conformances, CAPAs, audits, training records, and a number of other elements that you could include within your quality management system. By improving operational efficiencies in all quality-related processes, the software reduces risk and lowers the cost associated with regulatory compliance. So this is a little graph that shows the different elements of our EQM framework. Let's take a look at some of the screenshots just to give you an idea of the look and feel of our system. So related to process mapping, you have the ability here to create your process models using a drag and drop interface. So here we have this example of a process model, and here we have our toolbox, the different tools that we have available for us in order to create our process models. I'll talk about our modeling tool in a little bit more detail once we log on to the system. Quality performance indicators. So if you have KPIs related to quality that you would want to track, for example, the number of corrective actions or the cost of quality, those are things that you could include into your set of KPIs. You could include them into a balanced scorecard like this and be able to monitor those key performance indicators. Document control. We will also talk a little bit more in detail about the different features of our document management system and how you can set up the documents within your set of categories and how you can manage those documents. Statistical process control. I don't know if any of you are from an industrial background or have experience using SPC, but if you do, we have an SPC module that will allow you to execute data collections for the characteristics that you want to measure, whether they're in a process or a workflow, or if they're in a finished product that your company produces. You have the ability to configure and execute those data collections, and our system will automatically generate all of the relevant charts, all of the relevant control charts. Here you see an example of average, standard deviation, range, and a histogram. We have an inspection module that will allow you to evaluate supplier performance and inspect the incoming items that you receive from suppliers. Audits. We're looking at an example of an ISO 9000 audit here. Our system will allow you to construct audits like this and configure the ways that you would react to non-conformance within an audit by creating a set of actions that you would want to distribute to employees within your organization or within your team in order to take corrective action, for example. Here's some more quality tools. If you wanted to do some analysis of a non-conformance, you could use the tools that come built into our system. We have the Fishbone or Ishikawa tool. We also have 5 Whys, and we also have fault tree analysis. So all of those tools come built in for you to use to do your non-conformance analysis. As I mentioned, we have a competence module that would allow you to manage, map, and evaluate the competencies of the employees within your organization. And finally, we have a survey or questionnaire module that will allow you to create the surveys, whether they're customer satisfaction surveys or lots of times in human resources you have a climate survey to evaluate what the perception of your employees are of your organization. So you have the ability to create surveys the way that you like. In this example, we've created a survey that would be a reaction to a training course that was given. If we would want to evaluate the reaction of the participants in a training course, we could construct a survey and have the participants in the training course fill out that survey and submit it to be evaluated by the training manager. Okay, now I'd like to step out of this little presentation and actually log on to the system. So I'm going to come over here, and right here we've already logged into the system as a manager user. And there's a number of options here across the top of the menu. Let me open up the components menu here. Now, I'm a user who has access to all of the components or modules within our suite of solutions. So just to highlight some of the ones that I am going to show you today. We're going to take a look at the document module and look at the different features that you have for creating documents, for configuring the revision of documents. All of that is contained within the document module. The process module is right here. This is where we can model our processes, configure them to be automated, and define how the execution of that process will happen. All of that is done in the process module. And then if we have time, I'm going to take you into the risk module and show you the way that you can create risk plans, evaluate the risks that have been identified within your organization, apply controls to those risks, and view the information related to the risks that you have identified in your risk plans. So let's go ahead and get started here in the document module. Okay, I'm going to show you this option here, View Document. So this is where you would come if you are a user who would want to search for a particular document within the organization. And let's take a look at the different features that we have that would allow you to search. So over here on the left, we have a quick search box, which would allow you to type in a term, and it would search for documents that match that term, either within the title or summary of the document, or in a case where you have full text search enabled, you would be able to search the content of your documents as well. So if I type a term here and press enter, the system will search for all documents that have the word project in the title or the summary of the document. Or in the case of our system here, we've configured it to do a full text search. So you would be able to see all documents that have the word project in the content of the document as well. Let's take a look at some other ways that we can search documents. We have a number of advanced filters here. One way that is very common to search for a document is using a keyword. So if we come down to this keyword option, I can add a keyword here to be able to use in my search. So I'm going to find this keyword here called public sector. And once I click the save button here, it'll add the public sector keyword to my search. And once I search, it will return me all of the documents that have the keyword public sector configured and associated to the document. So the association of the keyword is something that the document manager or the document author would be responsible for, but you as the user who is coming in to search for documents, you can select one or more keywords to apply to your search, and the system will go return the documents that meet your search criteria related to the keyword. We also have the ability to search on attributes. And an attribute is kind of like a metadata element. It's a piece of information that describes the document somehow. So when you're searching for a document, you can select an attribute. In this case, I'm going to select this attribute called automatic renewal. And here I have the ability to select an operator. I'm going to leave the operator as equal. And here it'll show me a list of the possible values that this attribute, automatic renewal, can have. So if I would want to search for documents that have the attribute of automatic renewal equal to no, I could set the value to no and apply. And the system will return me all documents that have the automatic renewal attribute set to no. Another way that you can search within the documents, the document module, is by the type. We also call the type the category. And the category allows you to classify the documents that you have within your organization. So in this instance, the document manager has created a set of categories, a hierarchy of categories according to the business need of this organization. So here we have a category related to the agreements that the company has entered into. And under the agreements category, we have 3 subcategories related to international contracts, purchase agreements, and supply agreements. We also have a category here for engineering drawings. We have some other categories. And then here we have a category for our QMS. So if you would like to define subcategories within your QMS, for example, for the different guides that you have, your internal policies, the manuals that you have within your organization, or the procedures, those are examples of subcategories that you might want to create. And this structure, this hierarchy, is not limited. So you're not limited to 2 or 3 levels within the hierarchy. You can have as many as you want. And you're also not limited in the number of categories that you can create. So that's something that you, as the document manager, would be able to decide. But if I would want to see all of the documents that have been put into the procedures category, I would click on apply. And now the system is returning me all of the documents that are found in the procedures category. This idea of the category here is quite important. This is probably the single most important feature in terms of how you control the documents in the system. So I'm going to show you some details of this procedures category. As we mentioned, we have this idea of the attribute. And so whenever you configure an attribute for a category, that means that all of the documents in the category can have values set for the attributes that you have created. So any document that we have in the procedures category can have a value for business unit and can also have a value for a country. This information is presented as read-only to me because I'm coming in only to view the documents, but I, as the document manager, if I were going into the category as a manager, I would be able to edit this information. On the Control tab, we have a number of options related to document revision. So here is where you would control how the revision of your document category would work. In this case, we're doing an ISO 9000 based revision, which means that we'll have steps of draft, review, approval, and release. And you have the ability to configure who would be doing each of those steps and what the sequence of those steps would be. Okay, let me come over here to the security to show you that you have the ability to define the security for the documents in this category. So if you would only want a certain department or a certain position within your organization to be able to edit or to be able to view or to be able to execute revisions on the documents in this category, this is where you would come to set that security. And if you would want to create a template to be used as an electronic file that would always be available within the documents that you create in this category, you could create a Word document or PDF document that, upon creation of a new document, would always be included as an electronic file for the document. So in this example, we don't have a template configured, but you do have that option. And if you would like to include an electronic file by default in the documents that you are creating in this category, then you would be able to add that template here. Okay, and let me do one more thing here just to show you how easy it is to actually open up a file. Let me get rid of the category filter here. And it's here that you can click, and it opens up in a PDF viewer very quickly. Took a total of about 2 seconds to load, so we have a very fast PDF viewer. We also have viewers for the Office documents, spreadsheets, and PowerPoint files. So those will have built-in viewers that would allow you to view those documents. Okay, let's step out of document now and head over to the process module, because I would like to show you an example or two of some processes that we have modeled in our example database here. So let's come into process file. And you can see here that the interface for searching for processes is very similar to the interface for searching for documents. And that's something that you will find throughout the system, is that the way that you search for the items that you have within your modules is very standardized. So you don't have to relearn a bunch of interfaces in order to use the different modules in the system. So if I would want to search for processes related to change management, for example, I could just type a keyword up here in the quick search box, and it will return me all of the processes that have this word change in the name of the process. So change management is something that you as a quality manager would probably be very interested in, and we have an example here of a process that we have created for change control. So with that process highlighted, let's open up the flowchart of that process. Okay, so what do we have here in our process? The first thing to note is that we have a number of swim lanes here configured. So a swim lane is something that would allow you to map the different participants that you would want to have in this process. So here we have a lane for the change requester, the person who would be initiating the change request. We also have a change manager who would be doing some type of prioritization and categorization of the change. We also have some folks who would be doing assessments, so a validation assessment and a technical assessment of the change. We have a change approval board who would essentially be responsible for approving or rejecting the change that is proposed. And we have some roles that are responsible for implementing the change. And these are down here in this part of the process model. So each of these lanes indicates a role that or a participant in the process. And within the design surface of the process, we can have the different flow objects. So all of these blue boxes, these are essentially activities. These are when we have some work or some task that needs to be done within the process. Those are represented as user activities. We also have an example of a gateway here. A gateway is where you have some form of branching within your process or some decision that needs to be made, and that can be represented by the gateways that you see here. In this case, this is where the change approval board would need to decide if they are going to approve or reject the change. We also have some events here. We have an end event and a start event. I don't know if we have any BPMN gurus participating in our presentation today, but if you are, you may notice that all of the notation that we're using here is BPMN 2.0. BPMN stands for Business Process Modeling and Notation. And all of the elements here in your toolbox are based on BPMN 2.0 notation. So all of these activities, all of these gateways that you have here, all of these come standard with the SoftExpert solution. And you have the ability to simply drag these elements onto your design surface and configure them the way that you want. You have the ability, once you drag an element on the surface, to link it up to the rest of the process the way that you want. And so this is something that's really easy to begin to use, but also very powerful. There's a lot of different ways that you can configure the process. There's a lot of customization that's possible. For example, if I come over here to the Properties tab, I have a number of options related to how I want to represent the different flow objects within my process. If I want to change the color, if I want to change the shape, if I want to change the text and the way that the text is presented, I can do that here in Properties. And I can also see summary information about each of the flow objects in my process. So I can see the inputs and the outputs. I can see the next action that would be taken after this activity, and I can see the attributes that have been configured for that activity. This is a very user-friendly process modeling tool, and even if you are not an expert in business process modeling, you'll be able to get the hang of this process modeler very quickly. Okay, in addition to the flowchart, there are a number of other configurations that you can make regarding your processes. So in terms of quality, one of the things that is really interesting about our process module is that for a given process, you can associate, for example, a set of indicators. So if you have a set of indicators that you have in some balanced scorecard over in our performance module, you have the ability to associate those indicators here. So if you are working in an industrial context and you want to measure the total effective equipment performance that you have, you can associate that indicator here. Any indicator that you have in your set of scorecards is available to be associated, and you can even have access to some of the information related to these indicators here within your process. So you don't have to go over there to the performance module to see the information related to your key performance indicators. If you want to associate those indicators to your process and have them visible here, then you simply associate the key performance indicator here with the add button, and it would show up here as an associated KPI for your process. Okay, what else? Here, under the General Data tab, you have the ability to put a description. You have the ability to enable automation. So this is what I was talking about earlier in the presentation today. So if you would want to allow users to actually execute your processes, not simply look at them as references, as flowcharts, but actually put them into action and execute them, you can check this box here for Enable Automation. And here you would have the ability to define how you would want that automation to happen. In this case, we're automating this process as a workflow. And I'll show you an example of an execution of this process as a workflow once we finish taking a look at the details of the process data here. Inputs and outputs, you can configure the inputs and outputs that you have for your process. As we saw in the flowchart, you can also configure the inputs and outputs at the activity level. So if you want to map the inputs and outputs at the activity level, you have the ability to do that as well. Any resources that you have for your process, you can associate resources related to your process. All of this information, or some of it, can be viewed using the turtle diagram, which is a common tool for you quality folks. So if this is a tool that you use a lot, you have the ability to view information related to your process by viewing the turtle diagram. And in fact, these are configurable. So if you would want to see the risks instead of the resources here, or the costs instead of the inputs, you have the ability to configure your turtle diagram to show the data elements that you would want to show related to your process. Okay, I mentioned attributes in the context of documents, but we also have attributes for processes. And the attributes are data elements that you can display to the users who are executing your process. So if you would want to allow, for example, in the context of a change management process, to allow the user to put in the change type, to enter the risk level for or the risk type that you have for this process, or the department that the change applies to, you can configure these different attributes to be available within your process. And we will see an example of how these attributes are displayed once we go take a look at a workflow in execution. Okay, let's do that now. Let's come over in here to My Tasks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a workflow for that change control process that is already in execution. So I'm going to find my change here. And let's take a look at this one here. Okay, so these are all tasks that I have for executing an activity in a workflow. These are all processes that have been automated as workflows, and I'm going to execute one of these tasks that I have to execute the task related to my user. So here you can see the attributes that have been filled in already in this process. So let's take a look here at the flowchart so you understand where we are. If you remember, we have a number of different activities within this change control process. This red box here tells me that I'm currently on this activity. So all of these activities before have already been completed. All of these ones that have a green check, that indicates that some user has already executed and sent forward the process activity, all of these ones that have the green check. So somebody has already made the request for change. The change manager has already prioritized it and categorized it. And we've also already come through the approval stage. So the change control board has already approved this change, and we're to the state here where we are doing the change validation in the validation environment. And you can see here by looking at the process model that I should have two options here. I should have the option to pass this change or fail the change based on my analysis of what's going on in the change environment. And that is what you see up here. You see these icons up in the ribbon that allow this user who's been assigned to do this task to either pass or fail the change as he has evaluated it in the change validation environment. Besides the ability to pass or fail, I also have the ability to add a comment. So if I would want to add a comment to my activity execution, I could put a comment here. I also have the ability to attach a file using a simple drag and drop interface. I can simply drag a file onto this surface here and it would attach my file. I can see the history of this workflow execution, so I can see when each of the activities was executed and by whom. And as I showed you before, you have the ability to see the flowchart. And so if I would want to pass this change validation, I would click on this pass button here, and it would send the change through to the next step in the process. So that's something that you is a useful tool to have as you're looking at the flowchart within the execution of a workflow. Okay, we have a few more minutes here, so I want to take you quickly into the risk module and show you a risk plan that you may use in the context of quality. We have some risks related to the change control planning. So if you have risks that you have identified related to the changes that your organization is implementing, you might like to create a risk plan related to change control. The one that I want to show you here is related to health and safety. In fact, these last few days I've been talking with a guy in Europe who's responsible for the overall quality and specifically the health and safety of employees within his organization. He works for a large industrial company. And so this is an example of a risk plan that you could make for the risks related to the health and safety of your workforce. So what do we have here? At the top level, we have our risk plan. And within the elements of the risk plan, we have the risks. So we have elements here for risks related to fire, risks related to manual handling, risks related to slips, trips, and falls. And so for each of these risks, I can select the risk, and I can choose to edit that risk to see some more details. I want to come right in here to the evaluation to show you an example of a heat map that you can construct if you want to use a heat map to do your risk evaluations. So in this example, we have severity on one axis and likelihood on the other axis. and doing the evaluation is simply a matter of selecting where each of the criteria would fall according to your evaluation. So what is the likelihood that flammable materials would a risk regarding that would occur, and what is the severity of that risk? And so based on the information that has been provided here in the risk evaluation, the risk is plotted here on the heat map. I can see the history of the evaluations that have been made. So if I'm evaluating my risks on a defined frequency every 3 months or every 6 months, I can see the history here in a list. And I can also see the history plotted on the heat map. So I can see where the first evaluation was, where the second evaluation was, all of that. I can also see a lot of related information to my risk. So if I would want to associate a particular consequence or a set of consequences to this risk, I can associate consequences. I can also associate best practices or objectives. I could also attach or associate documentation. So if I have a particular document that I would want to associate to this risk, a document that I have in my document management system, I could come here, click on search, and I could find the document that I would want to associate to this particular risk. So in the case of risks related to flammable objects, maybe thermal management would be a good one to associate. Okay, so I've added now thermal management to this list of associated documents. Also controls. If I would want to have controls that would be used to mitigate the risks that I have, I can apply those controls to the risks. So for example, personal protective equipment. I can apply that control to my risk in order to reduce the chances that risk will come to fruition. Within this listing of the controls, I can see a number of details related to those controls. So here I can see, for example, if a user has made a comment about this, if I have any key performance indicators related to this control, if I have a best practice that has been associated, and I can also see if I've implemented this control completely, partially, or not at all, and I can see the implementation date. So a lot of information contained within this screen, which allows you to view information about your risks, and in this case, we're viewing information related to the controls that have been applied to those risks. Okay, I just want to finish up here by showing you an example of a portal. So we've looked at a number of different modules here. We've looked at document, we've looked at process, and we've looked at risk. So let me show you an example of a portal that you might create related to risk. And a portal is nothing more than a dashboard or a set of gadgets or a set of charts that you could make available for the users of this system. So if you would want to make available information related to your risk plan so that your director level officers could see information related to your risk plans and what the current evaluations are for those risks, you could include those risk plans as an element in a portal and make those risk plans available here in your portal. I didn't show you an example of a risk diagram, but you can also put a risk plan diagram as an element onto a portal. This is essentially the same information that we have visible in the risk plan, but it's just a different way of showing it. We also have risk lists. So if you would want to be able to show information about a particular risk plan directly on the risk matrix with a list of those risks underneath, you could do that. Okay. And finally, analytics. This is a tool that we have that allows you to create some really nice interactive charts, drill down style charts that allow you to display information related to the information in your system. So here we have a chart related to the number of risks that we have broken down by type, name, and plan. If I would want to make that full screen, I could simply click on this icon to make it full screen. So here I've got the risks broken down first by type. Then I can drill into each slice of this pie chart and see information related to the name of that risk. And then I can drill down one more level and see the name of the plan where that risk is contained. So I have the ability to create this style of drill down chart that I can then add to a portal and make that available to my users. And this portal can be configured in terms of access. So if you would want to have only a particular department or only a particular user have access to view these charts, you would have the ability to set the access control for these charts. Okay, our time is about up here, so I hope that you have been able to learn some important information about our EQM solution and how it might be able to help you in your organization. Let me just come back to our company presentation here, and I'm going to move to the end here and show you our email address. And if you're interested in having more information about any of our products, or if you have any more questions, please feel free to send us email. Our email is sales@softexpert.com. And of course, you can visit our website, www.softexpert.com, if you would like to explore on your own some more information related to the different features of the different solutions that we have within our suite. So thank you very much for participating.